Good evening, and welcome back to another episode of What's Your Story? Tonight we are sitting down with Mike Severance, who's been around town for quite a while now. Would you like to tell us how long?
Well, I was born here a few years ago, and I'm not sure which side of the river my parents were living on because one set of grandparents were right here on Pearl Street, and the other set was down at Gooch's Beach. So I'm not sure where my parents were living.
So you're a real townie. Are you the townie?
No, I remember those when I was growing up, and no, I'm trying to outlive those images.
First of all, thanks for being on our set tonight. We really appreciate you stopping by. So you grew up here. Did you go away to school? Or something else?
No, I went away to school, obviously university, but my last 2 years of high school. Mm-hmm. My mother had gone to a school in Ashburnham, Massachusetts, Cushing Academy, co-ed.
Yeah.
And they thought it'd be a good idea if I was interested, and I would go down there too. Mm-hmm. So I went through the school system here, Lower Village School, where the Washington Hose Fire Station is.
Yeah.
It's not a 2-room school. It was 3. The third room was a gym. And then 6th and 7th grade at Park Street, then up to high school.
Oh, wow.
Long
that's
answer.
Great. No,
then University of Maine.
Yeah.
Or no.
Yeah. What'd you study there?
I think they call it today social studies, humanities, anthropology.
Yeah.
And then partway through, problem solving about what I was going to do after college.
Which is always a great question.
Yeah. Well, I suddenly realized as I got called for the draft that I knew what I was going to be doing afterwards. But beyond that, my folks are innkeepers, and several of the innkeepers in the port and in Kennebunk were school teachers. Mm-hmm. And gee, that fit because our summer season in those days was late June to Labor Day.
Yeah.
And so I went into the College of Education, graduated with social studies, humanities as a major.
So speaking of this, you're talking about the Seaside.
The Seaside at Gooch's Beach.
Yeah. And how long has that been in your family?
I'm a direct descendant of the Gooches, and
Okay.
you have Gooch's Beach and Gooch's Creek down there.
Yeah.
And John and Ruth Gooch came in from England in 1635, but they went to York first.
Okay. How dare they?
Yes. Well, it was probably the only safe settlement in the 1630s. And they were there in Cape Nettic for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And then they had the opportunity to buy some land. In those days, you had a lot of land to support a family.
Right.
They came up to the mouth of the Kennebunk River in probably 1651. Mm-hmm. So it's been that long.
Wow. And it's still in your family?
Yes.
Your daughter, Trish?
Our youngest, we have 2 daughters, and our youngest daughter, Trish, and her husband, Ken Mason and Trish. Mm-hmm. And 2 children, adult children are now managing the Seaside Inn.
Did you find that, interesting people that would come through, or any fun stories you want to share with us? Any ghosts?
We don't want to scare away any guests. It was always very interesting being in the innkeeping business because you did have a lot of people coming through, and it didn't matter if they were clerks or owners of large companies. The characters, personalities were always very good. That made it sort of interesting. Ghost, yes, there is a family ghost. When the homestead building was moved 100 yards off the innkeeping L to build a hotel in 1885, apparently not stepsister, but the sister that died in the creek was in that building.
Oh.
In the back of the house, and then Homestead got moved over there. So, yeah, she rambled around and still is in the inn. But friendly.
Very friendly.
No
That's what I
scaring
hear.
people. You would just hear movement in another room, and nothing would come through the door where you are.
So you've seen, you've seen these two towns for quite a while. Big changes that you might want to talk about? Good, bad, or indifferent?
Well,
no judgment.
Yeah. Setting me up, I can tell already. I thought this was a friendly. No. The tremendous changes in the economy. The good news about that is, as I mentioned, from Labor Day on, it was a very small town, the port in Kennebunk. Very small town, and the economy was not that good. In the innkeeping business, my father, was always good friends with a plumber, carpenter, electrician, and all those, because in those days they generally are maybe one or two people. In the innkeeping business, if something failed on a weekend,
right,
you couldn't call somebody from Bitterford.
Right.
But today, for the ambulance now, we have professionals on the ambulance. The fire department is tremendous with the equipment, the amount of equipment the police and the fire can have. And look at the grocery stores and the food that we have available year-round. So it's good. You probably got your reevaluation lately.
I don't live here.
Okay, we won't talk about that then. No.
I live in Saco. I think
sorry.
I got my reevaluation when Kennebunk got its years back, like 20 years back. I'm not sure if we've had one since, but that was a big eye-opener.
Well, my only comment, you were baiting me to try to come up with a negative, is that with the people coming in, moving into town because they're retired and they have a different financial background, and they may have sold a lot of businesses, properties, and it's rather difficult for a local person living and working in local economy to try to live up to those standards, which most of us never did try that, because you couldn't, and you couldn't sustain yourself in the wintertime.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean to bait you into anything negative, but I know what you're saying, but I think it's true for many towns.
Yes.
Maine is the place to be. So, and where you're located, where the beach, where the Seaside is located, I mean, you can't ask for a more picturesque spot, and so it is beautiful over there. So,
well, it was growing up on the property. It's the way I appreciated it, and then suddenly when my folks wanted to retire and asked us if we wanted to come back or sell it, geez, no, I don't want to sell it. So Sandy and I came back to Maine, and I think one of the things that I would call myself and Sandy, good stewards of the land.
Yeah.
Because it provided for my predecessors for so many generations.
Yeah.
And look at what little they had to do, accomplish, taking care of the land, because the land provided a lot of things.
Right. Where were you at the time when you got that call?
I was in Massachusetts, Marlborough, Massachusetts.
Okay.
I'd gotten a job after active duty with the Army as a pharmaceutical sales, and my territory was in that 495 area into Boston, calling on doctors, hospitals, and
I had no
pharmacies.
idea you did that. My husband's a pharmacist. That's why.
Really?
Yeah.
I called in pharmacists in the morning and hospitals and doctors in the afternoon. Oh, really? Around here?
Yeah, he is right now. He's at the Berwick Pharmacy.
Oh, Berwick. Yeah.
He started out at Lavertier's when they
first started expanding.
When he got out of school, and worked for them for a while, and then everything sort of changed. So, and you probably saw that too.
When I was detailing, as we were called, it was this hometown type. And the pharmacist was a tremendous first step. When you and I'd have a problem, we'd go into the pharmacist and say, hey, I've got this itch, ache, or whatever. And he'd recommend something or say, to be safe, why don't you go see Doc so-and-so.
Right.
And that's starting to disappear a little bit, although the pharmacists today still know their products and can give you some help. But
But they don't know their people anymore.
They don't know the people
Unless you
because they're a big chain and they swap all around where the chain needs them to work. But
Right.
good for your husband.
Plus for the mail order, I mean, that's really changed a lot too.
Mail order.
So, yeah, my uncle worked for the government, and so he was asking my husband Greg one time about this particular thing that he was taking, and he said it keeps me up. And then when I'm up, I want to sleep. And the simple thing was, Greg said, "Have you ever thought about taking it at a different time of day?" And, so it's just even those little things you don't get from your mail order, right? So, but even that sort of thing changed. And the hospitals, like, were they the ones, the big hospitals, like in Boston, or?
Yeah.
But that was a big territory, I would think.
Yeah, it was, but there were lots of doctors because it was, the Newtons and Waltham and Marlborough were bedroom communities too.
Yeah.
But a lot of those commuted into the bigger hospitals. I just had a VA in the Brookline area, the veterans, it was really big. That was interesting. A little scary because of the size and the foreign national doctors in there, but tremendous things they were accomplishing. Big difference in technology between then and today. We're so much more fortunate.
Yeah. Going through the pandemic and getting a vaccine as quickly as we did. So, but, because I know it takes years to get that, getting something through. So, did you ever work on that side?
Before it gets out, no. Detailing, no, that's a whole research and development.
Yeah.
You have to have like 3 PhDs to go in that side of it. And it takes a long time to field test those drugs to make sure another thalidomide doesn't come along.
Right. Yep, exactly. So, so you're involved with some different groups around town. I know that you're part of the Old Goats.
The Old Goats. The recent definition of Old Goats, one of the fellows said to try to contradict the image, was greatest of all time.
That's right.
So we're marching to that drum beat. It's a group of 10, limited to 10, mostly supposed to be retired, that just gets together twice a month on a Friday for lunch and just to share life's experiences.
Yeah, I think that's so wonderful that you do that. And it's a really nice group of people. So
it's not unusual, but it's unusual in the fact it's 10 different people with 10 different backgrounds.
Right.
And
you've kept the commitment. I think that's that's especially today when there's so many other things going on. So that's wonderful. And what else are you involved in? Here in town.
I try to stay active, so I don't sludge up. One of the things that I really enjoy is I'm president of the Maine chapter of the National Association of Former Intelligence Officers. So our mission is I take one of the National's missions, which is education of the general public on the importance of a strong, effective intelligence community out on the first line of defense. So I try to bring in, have to do retired CIA people because while they're on active duty,
we don't know who they are.
No, that's right. They're very deep cover, and they shouldn't be known either, especially being put on film. So bring them in on contemporary subjects, things that are going on in the world, around the world today. But only what we see is little sound bites in the news or headlines. So we can bring in a speaker, trying to build up networks over the years, bring a speaker that's worked that country, and not just the intelligence community, 17 organizations there, but ambassadors who have worked those countries come in and tell us what's all about Azerbaijan. Why is that important? Why do we need to know that? Very time-consuming, but very, very interesting.
Yeah, and you do those are at the Brickstore Museum.
Brickstore Museum's Program Center. We try to hold 9 programs a year. Very challenging finding somebody that will convince them, please come to Maine. It's not as bad as you all think it is.
You could stay at the seaside.
Yeah. One of the lines I'll say if I know they have a sense of humor is, you can come to Maine in January, February. We have electricity now, and the plumbing is inside. So you don't have to go out in the... But anyway, so I do that.
But what a group. And who comes to speak is... and I think that's so important because for those of us who do just sort of rely on those sound bites, we could be learning so much more and be open to so much more of what's going on in the world.
We try to, we don't script the speaker. We say, we want that subject. Look, he had a 20 or 30 year career in these different countries. Here's what we're really interested in. If you could keep it to a presentation of 50 to 60 minutes, don't ask questions in the middle of it because you'll lose control.
Right.
But at the end, there's a question and answer period. And people can see the speaker up close, ask questions about, hey, I heard about this.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of feedback that they get, just like you were saying.
Yeah, that's really great. And so do you, how do you, ask these people? Do you send them a letter, an email?
The best secret is if you know somebody that knows it, and then I send them who we are and what we're trying to accomplish, a letter, and they'll edit it and send it to or call their friend and say, will you go to Maine such and such dates? Most of the time, as I have more experience, that happens more often. But most of the time is I'll see a book review in one of the professional magazines, or somebody will send me an article or something like that. Then I do a background check on the person. Have they ever spoken before? We don't try to have book writers because generally I call them ivory tower. They just sit up in the tower and research a lot of papers. They've never had boots on the ground.
Yeah.
They don't know the people or the economy or the government, whatever.
Yeah.
And do all of that. And then I'll contact them and say, and I found another secret here. Gosh, I've been doing it for about 15 years. Just this last winter, sending out an attachment of, look, here's the quality of speakers we've had.
Right. That's really helpful, I think.
3-star admirals, 2-star generals, ambassadors, CIA living 20 years in China.
Yeah.
That was something. Ooh, okay.
Right.
Naval War College.
I want to be part of that group.
Let's say, I'm not going to come up and talk to a bunch of hayseeds that have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And the word gets around that the quality of the questions coming from the audience. Oh, really?
How many people do you get per session?
Have to watch out because I think the program center has a seating capacity.
Yeah.
But we have lots of doors. And when it gets to the standing room, people will stand, but generally they'll leave.
That's so
the
great.
their answer is we'll run somewhere around 80 to 100 people a session.
Wow.
Well, excuse me for
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's the other important thing is that when they come up, if there's 4 people in the audience, so having a good crowd show up. I'm hearing that we have as many, if not more, than New York chapter or the Washington chapter has, which is unusual here, but good.
Yeah, that's really great. So, getting back to your service, what did you do in the service? What did you do in the military?
As I mentioned, the draft was waiting for me, so I took the advanced ROTC and was commissioned in the Army, and they selected me for military intelligence.
Okay.
In those days, I had to, the intelligence people had to take a basic branch of the combat arms, and I selected infantry. Several reasons for that. And went through Fort Benning. For the infantry school there, for the combat unit leaders course, and then Fort Holabird, which in those days was the intelligence center and school, to get a broad spectrum of what the intelligence branch's responsibilities were. And then I was selected for a permanent change of station to Fort Bragg.
Okay.
And at Fort Bragg, there was part of the Army Materiel Command's test and evaluation. Research and develop would come up with a new tool for combat arms. It'd come to Fort Bragg to see if it would really do what it's supposed to do in the hands of the Special Forces. We'd get a Special Forces team come in, or the 82nd Airborne, to drop it on their back or in vehicles out of aircraft, put it in the field for weeks and stuff like that.
My brother-in-law was in the 82nd Airborne.
Oh, there you go.
Going down there to see them,
Jump, you go up in the drop zone?
And watching some of these things, there was I can't remember the name of a vehicle, like a Gamma Goat or something. And the parachute didn't open. It was like one of the, the Humvees.
Yeah, the Humvee, yeah, the early version of it. Yeah.
Yes, one of those vehicles went.
And a civilian saw it. That's not good.
But
wow.
Yeah, so he and my sister were there for a while, but and just kind of riding around and seeing
Big
how
post.
many people. Big post, yeah.
55,000 when I was down there.
Wow. So you were there in the
Middle to late 60s.
Okay. So they were there. I think they were in the 80s, in the late 80s. They were there, and it was it's bigger.
Yeah.
But just amazing, some of the things that happened that you don't even realize what's.
We drew on the 82nd lot because they were real, and they were deployed overseas and coming back, and so they'd go out to test sites and run the equipment for us and all that.
Yeah.
And one of the projects I was working on was Heliborne Command Post for the 82nd, and I went over to 101st, which is under the same corps.
Yeah.
And had the general officers test it out there too. First encryption devices. So it was really neat. And they afforded me the opportunity to come off active duty. I was shocked, and my wife and I talked about it. Sandy and I talked about it, and pluses and minuses, and the pluses for coming off were greater, and I had an obligation. So when I got the job in Massachusetts, I looked up and found a reserve technical intelligence unit in Boston.
Yeah. Anybody going into the military today, would you give them, what advice would you give them?
Wow, deep question. When I knew the Army was, or I was going to be drafted, I was really, I would say, to the core. I just was upset saying, gee, my peers are going to get ahead of me out in the business world, whatever that meant. But I'm telling you, advice I'd give to anybody doing it, it's if you don't have a real keen skill or interest in a business or a profession, boy, the military teaches you so much. Discipline is one thing. Keeping focused on what the mission is, not having distractions, building a good team. Boy, that was the other thing. You can be successful yourself, but you can accomplish the mission much better if you have a team of people that are equally motivated. So I don't talk down the military.
Yeah.
It's a tough career if you're married and have a family, because deployment now is tough. It's tough, but necessary, I think, for the defense of our country.
Yeah.
So I looked at it, and again, back growing up there, on the family, thinking about the early predecessors. Yeah, you were self-involved, but when your neighbor's barn burnt, you went and helped them.
Yeah.
If there was a threat in a community, or even in an adjacent community, you had to grab your rifle and go over and help them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you do have an obligation at the national level to contribute. You don't have to make it a career. But it's so long answer, maybe.
No, but it's because some people, I think, they consider it, but they don't give it the full, I think, consideration that it deserves.
You will. I did the active duty, and then I did the reserves. And while I was in Massachusetts, it was easy to go into downtown Boston. But when we came back to the Seaside, I commuted to Boston. And why? And I'm saying, why did I do that? Because of the satisfaction I got out of doing something completely different with different people, And the reward is seeing the job well done.
Yeah.
And I got promoted up through, and I stayed for about 30 years active in the reserves.
Good for you.
Yep.
Well, thank you for all of that, really.
Yeah.
So are you as involved with the Historical Society as Sandy is? Or are you kind of like a...
Support.
Yeah, for her.
Staff person.
Because she's done a lot for that. I know of her. I don't know how much you've been part of that, but
It's quite interesting. My answer to that, to myself, is that's her thing.
okay.
And because sometimes I can be active, or I see where I can help. I say, I'm not going to be in there to overdo or underdo or be in a way or question a decision. Why don't you, So I stay involved in other groups and organizations and do that. No, Sandy has done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And when we first came back, she is from Gorham, and so knew no one down here at all. She started docenting at the Knott House for the Historical Society.
Yeah.
And she met some wonderful ladies there that remain friends still to today.
Yeah. I know she and Lisanne have worked on projects together. Lisanne James.
Lisanne, yes.
Who is also one of those people that, takes on a really creative position on those some of the exhibits that they've had over the years.
Yeah.
So
She and Lisanne, a good team.
Yes.
In activating a lot of stuff that would stay in the attic or in the closets.
That's right.
And then that spilled over to Christmas prelude, decorating the house and all that. No, that is Sandy's thing, and she's done a good job with that.
Yeah.
So proud of her doing that.
Yeah. It's really important to keep that going, keeping that light on. Just like at the Seaside, for the history here in town, and for people to know, how far we've come, but also who are the characters, what are the events, what's been happening, and so the archive up at the schoolhouse and the exhibits that go on. It's really, really interesting, fascinating to see.
Are we different today than we were yesterday? Maybe the characters, you keep saying.
Yeah.
The characters are not, and there are different people in the community that will step forward, and others with a lot of talent are part of that team to make it all happen.
The support, yeah.
And I think that's a good foundation that we all should have too, right? It's a good basis from which to step forward on.
Yeah. So in addition to the intelligence program, what other things that are you involved in with around town?
Well, let's see. I was a volunteer firefighter in a lower village for about 25 years, so I'm not over there.
Our producer, Mike Kelly, is a volunteer firefighter.
Is that how you lost your hair? Oh, no. Whoops. You're going to edit that, right?
He's got his boots and all of his stuff right in the back of the car, ready to go.
And that's another part of contributing to the community. Down there at the beach, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But when the call came out, you could go help your neighbor, and your buddies would all work together to solve the problem and take care of the situation. And I could see them that way and be part of that.
Yeah.
But you've got to be a young person that Mike apparently is to run for those fires and carry the heavy hose or get the ladders and stuff like that. But today, I'm no longer on the Algonquin Playhouse board, but I was on that for about 8 years. Sandy and I do work together on what we call a dinner club. That once a month we'll meet at a local restaurant or hotel, and there's around 55 people in that.
Wow.
And we'll have anywhere from 25 to 30, 32 people come to a dinner. Fixed price, 3 entrees, 1 or 2 first courses, and a dessert. And we have a speaker.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot to coordinate.
The speaker is one of us.
Oh.
And,
Do you get to pick the topic?
Well, generally, That is a real interesting thing. You may know somebody for ever long and had no idea their hobby or what their profession was.
Well, that's what this is sort of about,
Yeah.
because people, knowing your community members. So
Oh, is that what? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought it was because I was odd or something strange.
no, but
So-
that's great that you focus on that.
So 15 minutes, 20 minutes, talk about, like one of the ladies is going to do blanket quilting. I said, oh my God, really? The most fascinating thing. I have never looked at a blanket or quilt the same since that time, because there's a story, not just one, but multiple stories in it. And we have one of our members is very talented with the camera and the internet to take pictures, to upload photographs they may have or pictures of the quilt and what have you, so we can project it up. And
wow.
we have a fellow that did a career Kodak, and he talks about the development of Kodak camera and all of that stuff.
That's great.
So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Different people in the community. There's no criteria.
Yeah, that's great. So do you meet at at different restaurants?
We try to do it the same place, because we have that fixed menu,
Right.
and in a private room for all of that, and the wait staff knows generally if you're going to have a wine before a meal, they do that, and know who you are, what table to do that.
Right.
My wife,
that's
very
smart.
good. Sandy does a really unique thing, which is she takes who's coming, and we try to keep the tables to 6 people, not 8. That's too many at a table.
Yeah.
And make sure that the same couple or person doesn't sit the same people all the way around.
Wow, that's a lot of coordinating. That's great.
She's a psych and math major, so it's easy for her.
Also a member of the garden club.
Yes,
So,
She does a lot of flower arranging.
Well, you're
now.
both very, very active. That's great. Keeps you out of trouble.
Well, depends. If you're hitting the Peter principle and not meeting deadlines and stuff, you can be in a lot of high visibility trouble. But I think it's part of trying to stay healthy and active, part of the community.
Yeah, I think that's very smart. Well, we appreciate it. We usually end our interview with a little bit of a rapid fire. One answer.
You didn't tell me.
Responses. They're very simple, very simple.
Okay.
Favorite movie?
Ooh, Casablanca.
Ooh, we like that one, don't we, Mike?
We toast each night, and here's looking at you, kid.
Oh, that's great. Favorite book? Do you have a favorite book? Or this week?
Yeah. The 3 Most Dangerous Men is this week.
Okay.
Intelligence book, and that's what happens. The books I like to read, sea stories or whatever, is that I'm reading books that have been written by intelligence people. So you.
Yeah, that's how you learn about what you do. Right?
So when I run into them again, I say, "Oh, I liked your book."
Page 62.
Yeah, very good, very good.
What is where is the coolest place you've ever been? Not temperature, but like really unique.
Well, did traveling around the United States when I worked for Hussey Manufacturing. There's a lot of nice parts of the country that are nice snapshots. The southwest coast of Maine that's not a very brief answer, is it?
It's okay.
The southwest coast of Maine is very moderate as far as living. Not too high and not too low, not too cold and not too warm to live. Northwest, I think the answer to that would be the British Virgin Islands.
Oh, okay.
Again, it's away from everything.
Yeah.
It's very safe. The food wherever you sail into is good. You don't have to worry about health issues and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's very picturesque and everything.
Do you have a favorite island down there?
Grenada, I would say, was pretty good.
Huh.
There's several stories on that one too.
That's where nutmeg comes from.
and I love
that
it
right?
every day. It's so good for you.
It is good.
Key West is very nice, by the way.
Yeah. So are you a sailor?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't
Well,
know that.
growing up
Well,
at the
yeah,
beach
I
there
guess
with the
so.
river and the creek, when I was old enough to get away from the babysitter and try to paddle a boat around or sail it around on a tide. Yeah.
Wow. So do you sail down in the Virgin Islands?
We charter
Good
boats.
for you.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you still doing that?
Haven't done it since we retired.
Yeah.
We did have a power boat that we would take south and live on for a month or two until Sandy missed the grandchildren.
Yeah, that does happen.
Yeah.
Favorite cocktail?
You set me up there, that nutmeg, didn't you? Because my favorite one is Mount Gay rum, tonic water, a wedge of medicinal lime, and nutmeg shavings on the top.
Oh, what is that called? Is that your own?
Don't know. Yeah, it
The
doesn't.
Mike special?
Before that, it was Cuba Libre, which
yeah.
is bar rum and Coke and the lime.
And the lime.
And I added the nutmeg on top of that too.
All right. I'll have to try one of those. Mike, you game?
Yes.
We'll have to those sound pretty good.
Well,
So-
maybe before you start these tapings, sir, and it might be.
Good idea.
I think that's a great idea.
Won't be maybe as structured as you'd like.
And our last question, do you have a favorite library?
A favorite library? Well, what's the matter with this one? Should I be looking elsewhere?
No,
The
but
Graves Library in Kennebunk?
we kind of like that reassurance. That's a trick question.
I mean, it's very impressive. The Kennebunk Library is impressive as well. They're very active and everything. But this library here, you have such an active weekly schedule of programs going on, and outside people coming in, book authors coming in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
It's
So
really it's
that
fun.
was an easy one. I didn't feel baited on that one.
Good. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. We really appreciate it. And if anybody wants to attend one of your monthly sessions, how would they go about finding the
we have
bulletin board?
We have
I know.
a website.
Okay.
It's afiomaine.org.
Okay.
IOMAINE.org.
Okay.
And we also have a speaker's notification list that you can sign up. And our deadline we impose upon ourselves is the first of each month that we have a speaker come in.
Okay.
We send out like an announcement
Yeah.
on that. Photographs, detail of biography, what the program's about, and where it is.
Okay, so people can sign up for that and know. And I know that there is a limit to the seating, but for people to know about that, I think it's really that's great that you're doing that.
Yeah.
So, and
Thank you.
yeah, that's really remarkable. And I think just having that. Whoever it is, wherever they come from, it's just really important for people to kind of just widen their horizons. Yeah. So, and for the Seaside, congratulations on many, many generations.
Yeah.
It's the oldest family run in America,
I think it's in the States. There's some Japanese innkeepers, I think, that have been there a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And there's some businesses in the States that have been around in family business a little bit longer, at least my daughter probably is keeping in touch with that better.
But that's really commendable because
it's two things. It's double-sorted, of course. It just shows that maybe we didn't have enough common sense and good judgment to move on. No? Okay.
It's a wonderful place.
It was a challenge to keep it together and take care of my folks. My mother was born on the property and she died on the property.
Oh my!
On the house at the beach. So.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
That's incredible because that does not happen anymore. So good for you all. So thank you for being with us.
I think I should say thank you for asking me.
Yeah. And thanks to our producer, Mike Kelly, and thank you all for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you right back here next time.